All right, page 2. To do the practice, I know at the end of the first video I did this first one, but I want to do it again just to make sure. So this one's already in standard or general form. So if we want to use completing the square, because this does not factor, actually this one does factor, but this one does factor, but that's kind of to prove that this does work. So this is 11 and 3. So 11 goes over here, 3 goes over here. So that means our final answer is negative 3 and 11. So that's the short way. That one does factor, but let me show you how to complete the square in this one. Let's move over the 33 by adding it to both sides. Then you want to add the b over 2 squared to both sides. Okay. Negative 8 over 2 squared is the same as negative 4 squared, which is 16. So this side is 16 plus 33 is 49. This side, I like to go right to here. And then whatever's in the parentheses goes here. So this is a negative 4. And we don't want to write this twice and FOIL it. We want to use the square root property at this point. And since it's an even, it's plus or minus square root of 49 is 7. So you're going to add 4 to both sides. So x is going to equal 4 plus 7, which is 11, and 4 minus 7, which is negative 3. Okay. This one over here doesn't have everything equal to 0, 2x squared plus 12x minus 8 equals 0. Then it says if a is greater than 1, try to clear it. So let's take the 2 out. All right, and then our problem is going to be x squared plus 6x minus 4 equals 0. That is not going to factor. Okay, so we want to move the 4 over. And we want to add 6 over 2 squared to both sides. I always write it out first just to show. And then I go here, which is plus 3 squared. What's in the parentheses goes here. That's how I like to do these. If your instructor wants you to do them and show the step in between, make sure you understand that and ask. What is 6 over 2 is 3, squared is 9. So that's going to be 13. Let's just put that here. Woo. 4 plus 2, and that's going to be this equals 3 squared is 9. Okay, so that means this is 13. Then we're going to take the square root of both sides. So x plus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 13. Move this over. X is going to equal negative 3 plus the square root of 13 and negative 3 minus the square root of 13. Definitely didn't factor. If you get whole numbers, that means it factors. Okay. There's no way that would have factored. But this added this extra step of taking a greatest common factor out. Okay, if that's possible, you definitely want to do that. All right, next one isn't going to factor, I don't think, but we're supposed to be completing the square anyway. I like to do it this way. I write the 2 down, I leave a space, put the equal sign, move the c over to the other side, so put its opposite over here, and then you're going to be adding negative 5 over 2 squared, negative 5 over 2 squared. Since the 5 isn't even, it's not going to be pretty. You're going to have fractions in places, so try to stick with that. this is going to be a negative 5 over 2 squared, right? What's in here goes here. And then what is negative 5 over 2 squared? That's going to be 25 over 4. How do I add that to a 2? What is a 2 in terms of 4? So I can add this. That would be 8, right? So this is going to be 33 over 4. It's not a pretty thing. And then we need to square root both sides. So this is going to be x minus 5 over 2. And this side's going to be the square root of 33 over the square, oops, don't forget the plus or minus thing. Doop. Equals plus or minus. And I'm going to split this up because I noticed the 4 was a perfect square. So I need to add 5 halves to both sides. So x equals 5 over 2, that's a 5, over 2, plus or minus square root of 33 over a 2. So that is one way to put your answer. Another way to put your answer would be 5 plus 33 over 2, 5 minus 33 over 2. You can also put 5 over 2 plus square root of 33 over 2, 5 over 2 minus 33 over 2. Whichever one you need to put down, okay? All right, here it looks like I have another 2 to take out. It's going to be x squared. Here, let's do this a little smaller and a little neater. Sorry. Take a 2. So this would be x squared plus 10x plus 24 equals 0. That probably factors. Yeah, 6 and 4. So my final answer. So it's just another way to check. I like to check because the other way is a little complicated. So I want to make sure I'm doing it correctly. I think it's good to practice on ones that come out to something you can check. All right, so this would be 10 over 2 squared plus 10 over 2 squared. So this is 10 over 2 squared, which is 5, which is 25. 25 minus 24 is a 1. Go back over here. 10 divided by 2 is a 5. So that's where we are on that one. Check with the instructor if you need to show more work than that or in a different way. So this, then if I square root both sides, I'm going to get x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 1, which is a 1. So move the 5. So x is going to equal negative 5 plus or minus 1. So negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. That's what we had here. Okay? It's a good one to practice. All right, there looks like a lot of stuff going on here. Step 1 needs to move this back over because I need to have everything in the proper order first. Oh, when I move that over, it's going to make it disappear. Okay. And now I have a greatest common factor. Whew. Okay, so minus 3w equals 0. I can do this one a couple of ways too, but I want to stick with completing the square root at the moment. which seems like the really long way to do this one, because this would come out and use the 0 property. Oops. Zero and 3. W equals 0. Wow. Sorry. Equals 0 and 3. But you can use the square root property for, the completing the square property for this. So, sorry, I'm going to take this away for a minute. I'm going to hang on to my answer just to double check doing it the other way. All right, back over here. This was W. And then, ooh, it wasn't a 12. It was a 3. All right, I'm going to leave a space. There was a 0 on this other side, but this is going to be plus a negative 3 over 2 squared. And 0 plus that here. What is that? That is going to be a 9 over a 4. Okay, so this is going to be W minus 3 over 2 squared equals 9 over 4. Square root both sides. This is going to be W minus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 9 over the square root of 4. And then we're going to add 3 halves to both sides. So this is going to be W equals 3 halves plus or minus 3 over 2. Square root of 9, square root of that. So W equals 3 over 2 plus 3 over 2 equals 6 over 2 equals a 3. And W 3 over 2 minus 3 over 2 equals 0. Okay. That's the long way, or the completing the square way. Okay. Eventually, the point is to find a method that you need to use that would be the easiest way to go. So I think that wouldn't be completing the square, but it's a little bit of a challenge to completing the square. It just kind of focuses you on that method for a minute to make sure you can handle it. I think this one factors too, because if you notice that's a perfect square and a perfect square, so I just want to guess and check that one just in case it does. And then the root, that was how you're doing this one and this one and this one. So let's see, an inside-outside check would be 20x plus another 20x makes a 40x. So the 0 property says x plus 5 equals 0. 4x equals negative 5. X equals negative 5 over 4. So let's kind of hold on to that and go through the other way to, I'm sorry, I'm going to need a little room here to do things the other way. All right, so I'm supposed to do this completing the square. So 16x, there's no greatest common factor here to take out. So I need to leave this here, leave a space. On this side is going to be a negative 25, and here is going to be a 40 over 2 squared plus 40 over 2 squared. No, that's not going to be 16. I need to square root that. The 16 needs to be, whoa. Sorry about that. 16 needs to be squared also. So that's going to be 4x. No. No. Hold on. I forgot one of the rules of the... See, this was what makes you focus on the rules of completing the square. Let me write that down again. So completing the square, even though there's not a greatest common factor, it says you must remove the a and divide all terms by it. So let's not skip the rules here. No wonder I didn't know what to do in the next step, because I didn't do that. So it's not a greatest common factor, it's just removing a. So that needs to be an x squared, okay, without anything in front of it. So this reduces to a 5 over the 2x, and I want to move this term to the other side because that's going to go away. So this is going to be a negative 25 over 16. This is a challenge to do the complete the square way. All right, so plus 5 over 2 over 2, the complex fraction there, plus 5 over 2 over 2. Goodness. That way you get your x plus, which you have to have. All right, what is 5 over 2 times 5 over 2, or 5 over 2 squared is 25 over 4, right? Yes. So if it's 25 over 4, then it's squared. Okay. Yep. All right, so this is working out. Sorry, I'm just checking as I'm going. That would be the factor if you were writing all the factors out, but I just want to get what 5 over 2 divided by 2 is. Keep, change, flip is the expression, so this is 10 over 2. Let me double check that. This is 2 over 1. Oh, flip it would be a half. All right, sorry, I'm talking to myself. This is divided by 2, right? So 5 over 2 is the same as times 1 over half, which is 5 over 4, which goes here. Whew. Squared. So that means this mess over here squared is the where I'm going to put the 25. Let me double check that. This is the 5 over 2. We agreed that this equals that, right? And that squared would be 25 over 16. And I had a negative 25 over 16, which equals 0. All right, so this is going to be moved, square root both sides, move it to the other side. So this was equal to a 1. So this is going to be a negative 5/4. And there was a 0. Wait, this is a 0, not a 1. Okay. Oh, wow. Done. Gee. Okay. Don't like that, doing that one, completing the square. But it really makes you focus on the rules. Goodness. I feel like I should do that one again, but I don't have that much time. Try that again yourself to make sure you can do that one. Let's go back to, this one's not going to be pretty either. Really focus you on that rule. Goodness. 0 divided by 3 is 0. All right, move to the other side. Plus 1/3 over 2 squared equals negative 5 over 3. Which means this is t plus, what is 1/3 divided by 2 is the same as 1/3 times 1/2, which is 1 over 6 squared equals. Now, what is 1 over 6 squared is 1 over 36. So this is 5/3 plus 1 over 36. Gee Louise. Okay, so 5 over 3 equals what over 36 times 12 times 12 is a minus 60. So this one is minus 60 over 36 plus 136. Did I do that right? Yeah, believe it or not, I did that right. Is that, goodness. And then I need to square root this and this. So this is going to be t plus 1/6 equals the square root, plus or minus. Don't forget the plus or minus. Negative 59 over the square root of 36, which is a 6. All right, so this is going to be t equals negative 1 over 6 plus or minus square root of negative 59 over 6. The only thing left that you have to do is you see how you're left with a negative radicand, so that has to come out. So negative 1 over 6 plus or minus I square root of 59 over 6. Goodness. So negative 1 over 6 plus I square root of 59 over 6. Or you can throw that all together. That's the same as 1 over negative 1 plus I 59 over 6 if you need it that way. And negative 1/6 minus I 59 over 6 equals negative I 1, negative I 59 over 6. So it's all of that. So however you need to write your final answer, that's that. Okay. All right, negative 4. Do I want the negative? It's got to be a positive. That focuses you on the rule. That you need a positive x squared left for this to factor, right? Because it won't factor if it has a negative x squared. So you have to take the negative out. So this is going to be x squared plus 4x minus 60 equals 0. I think that factors. I like to do that just to double check my answer going in the hard way, I call it. Let's see, 10 and 6, right? 10 and 6, so the 10 would be positive and the 6 would be here. No. That'd be negative 60, positive 4. Yeah, so the final answer, right? Let's see, took the negatives out. That's going to be positive. That's going to be negative. Just trying to check myself here. So this is going to be negative 60, positive. Yeah, I think so. So x should be negative 10 and 6. All right, so let me get rid of that so I can complete the square here. All right, so x squared plus 4x, leave a space, negative 240 plus 4 over 2 squared, 4 over 2 squared. So this is going to be x plus 2 squared equals, this is going to be 2 squared, which is 4. 240 minus 4. Oh, you know what? I forgot to, hang on. That's not 240 anymore. This is going to be, this was a negative, moved to the other side, made it positive. 240 divided by that is 60. Okay, so 60 plus 4 is 64. That's looking better. Because these have to turn out to whole numbers according to my factoring over here. So this is going to be plus or minus 8. And when you move the negative 2 over, so x is going to equal negative 2 plus 8, which is 6, and negative 2 minus 8, which is a negative 10. Yay! Okay, so that's how we're doing that. It really focuses you on the rules. All right, so if you don't mind, I'm going to get this out of the way. Remember, all this is on the key, so... All right, last two. Get rid of the 3. Don't forget to put it over here. I'm showing my work by putting it under the 3, even though anything divided into a 0 is a 0. So it's important, though. X squared plus 8x minus 20, right? Equals 0. So x squared plus 8x plus 8 over 2 squared equals, move the 20 over, makes it positive, 8 over 2x. All right, this is going to be x plus 4 squared is, let's see, what is this? This is going to be 4 squared is 16, so this is going to be 36. Square root both sides, you're going to get x4 equals plus or minus 6, right? Square root. And, oh my goodness, an easy one. Yay! So minus 4x is going to equal negative, oh, which means it would have factored. Stick with it here. Let's see, move the 4 over. Negative 4 plus a negative, no, plus, no, goodness, plus 6, right, is 2. Negative 4 minus 6 is a negative 10. So when you get whole numbers here, that means it would have factored way back up here. I don't know if I wanted to take the time to do that, but yeah, let's not do that. It would have factored. I'm running out of time here. Let me finish this last one. A lot of these. A lot of these because these are hard, okay? All right, x squared minus 1/3 x plus negative 1/3 over 2. Goodness. Here is negative 1/3 over 2 squared over there. So this is going to be x minus, okay, what is divided by 2 is the same as multiplied by 1/2, which is negative 1 over 6. All right, squared. Negative 1 over 6 squared is a positive 136. Oh, what happened to my 1? Plus 1. Remember, this had to be moved over. 136 plus 1 is the same thing as adding 36 over 36. So this is going to be 37 over 36. Goodness. And then square root both sides. So this is going to be x minus 1/6 equals plus or minus the square root of 1 over the square root of 36. X equals, and then move this over. Oops. So x equals 1/6 plus or minus 1/6. No. Wait. I forgot to use that one. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I need more room. All right. Still need to add 1/6. Okay, so 1/6 plus or minus square root of 37 over 6. I don't have room to expand that, but that, I believe, is the correct answer. Let me check real quick. This was a negative, right? So this was a negative, so that has to be negative, so it has to be positive going over. Yep, that was good. Alrighty, thanks for hanging in there.